righty. So which does not insert on the tibia? Any guesses?
Vastus lateralis.
No.
Vastus medialis.
No.
Tibialis anterior.
Tibialis anterior. That one has its origin on the tibia. It sits on the tibia. Inserting on the tibia means it moves it. So your quads and your hamstrings both move the tibia around. So semitendinosus, vastus medialis, vastus lateralis all insert onto it so you can bend your knee or straighten your knee. What allows you to stand on your toes?
Peroneus.
Peroneus, that is one of three that allows you to stand on your tippy toes. Gracilis and the biceps are in your thighs, so it has nothing to do with your toes. And tibialis anterior does the opposite direction. This is attached to the calcanean tendon.
Gastrocnemius.
Gastrocnemius. So there's two muscles that attach to the calcanean tendon, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. So gastrocnemius is the big one that's going to do that. Which is not seen in the anterior view.
Bicep femoris.
Biceps femoris, that's on the back of your leg. This muscle is in the iliotibial tract.
Tensor fascia latae.
Tensor fascia latae, that's the fascia that it tenses. This group is viewed on the posterior thigh.
Is it the quadricep femoris? No.
No.
Hamstrings.
Hamstrings, which the biceps femoris is one of the hamstrings, which cannot be seen on the anterior view. The longest muscle in the human body.
The sartorius.
Sartorius, or talar muscle, going from the outer hip to the inner knee. Which of these muscles would not extend?
Tensor fascia latae.
Tensor fascia latae. So that one tenses the fascia laterally. It causes lateral flexion of the hip or the leg area. Thigh, not leg. Which does not belong in that group of names?
Bicep femoris.
Biceps femoris, because it's a part of the hamstring group that can be viewed on the posterior side. I know a lot of these questions relate to each other, which may or may not have been a downfall. And which muscle would not cause plantar flexion?
The tibia anterior.
Tibialis anterior. That one does dorsiflexion. Gastrocnemius, which allows you to stand on your tippy toes, along with the soleus and the peroneus. And again, peroneus that allows you to stand on your toes, was that's just one of those. So that one should have been eliminated from the lineup. All right, so that's done. So tomorrow will be practical 3. Again, practical 3 covers all of the muscles, so that would be exercise 13 in your book. So of course, the head, the neck, the chest, the abs, and the back is going to be off of the dude model. Arm muscles are going to be off of the arm model. Leg muscles are going to be off of the leg model. So those are the 3 types of models that we're going to find there. Studying old quizzes. Again, we've got quiz 7 over head and neck. The quiz 8 over chest, ab, back, and arms. And then quiz 9, which we did today, could be something to look at to help you to study. And as always, the practicals are 50 questions, 30 pointing to, 20 word, fill in the blank. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. And then we'll be able to move on from there. Don't forget your pre-practical is open. It closes tonight. So make sure you get that done before the close of business. So before 11:59, and it magically becomes a 0. Nobody wants magic zeros. Okay. So as always, it's time, 20 minutes, 30 questions. That are all pointy to. Okay, so if you have not completed it yet, which is most of you, make sure you get that done before the end of the day so you can have a good grade going into that. Because don't forget, all of the pre-practical grades average together to be a practical grade. So hopefully it will be helpful. So what we're going to do for the rest of the time is our common assessment. the state of Texas, in its infinite wisdom, has decided that all college graduates should have certain skills to help them survive out in the world because apparently the government knows more than anybody. So when we look at science, our common assessments have to address communication, they have to address group work, they have to address doing analytical skills, so math, and critical thinking. You have to be able to think. So we have what we have this common assessment. Now, when you have a common assessment, everybody has to do it. Okay, so you'll actually have this in many classes. Some of them just don't tell you it's the common assessment. If you ever had to do community service in psychology for absolutely no reason, because there's no reason to do community service in psychology, it's common assessment. It's the reason why. So if you take A&P 1 at Emerald College, you're going to do the exact same activity across the board. So everybody has to do this. So the common assessment, we find it online on the course content, and we click under that one. It's under a different category than all of your other assignments because the state of Texas and the little minion that runs it has to be able to pull this data and look at it. So we had to put it in its own folder so he can look at, she, I don't know who it is, can look at this information and report back and say, we're doing our job. So what we're doing for the common assessment is this lovely muscle fatigue activity. So the first part is kind of giving you a background about ATP and aerobic metabolism versus anaerobic metabolism, lactic acid buildup, stuff that we discussed during lecture when I wrote a whole bunch of letters on the board and got me crazy for a minute there. That doesn't narrow it down a whole lot, but it does a little bit when we talk about muscle contraction, using creatine, phosphate, ATP, all that fun stuff. Okay. So your procedure for this activity, you're going to have clothespins. It's the clothespin I gave you. And you're going to do 10 trials with your dominant hand and then 10 trials with your non-dominant hand. And for 30 seconds, you're going to click it as fast as you can and count how many times you click it. Once 30 seconds is done, you'll write it in your box, and then you start over again. And you go for the next 30 seconds. And you do all of the one hand, and you switch and do all of the other hand. Do not rest. The purpose is to make your muscles tired. We want to induce fatigue, and so we can see the results of that fatigue. So you'll be doing that continuously on one hand and then the other. So don't switch back and forth. Don't take breaks. Do not collect, $200 pass go or anything like that. After you're done doing that, you're going to have to figure out how much ATP you use to do this activity. So the first thing you do is you calculate how many joules of energy that you've used. So the third page, you add up your dominant hand squeezes and your non-dominant hand squeezes. And then you take the next step. There's your math problem. 1 joule of squeezes equals times total number of squeezes equal joules of energy. So you multiply 1 times your number that you get in that box above, and then that is your joules of energy. The next step is to take that joule of energy, plug it into the next formula it gives you, so you can figure out kilocalories. So you would just take that number that you got for joules of energy, multiply it by 0.00024, and that gives you your kilocalories. Then the next step, you'll take the kilocalories that you just figured, and you'll figure out how many moles of ATP did you use. So you would take that kilocalorie, divide it by 7.3, and that's how many moles of ATP you used during that activity. So you'll be able to figure out how much ATP you used with your dominant hand, how much ATP did you use with your non-dominant hand. So just kind of steps you each one, finding the answer, using that answer in the next step, finding the answer, using the answer in the next step. Then there are the questions. So the first one, you're going to draw a graph. So both the math problems and the graph is going to appease the analytical side that you're supposed to be able to do. Communication, you talk to people during the class, we're going to just assume that works with it. We're going to do critical thinking. That's the rest of the questions. In group work, you'll actually have a survey or something that you have to do at the end of the semester that will address and talk to you about group work. So number one there, you would draw a line graph showing your activity. So your x-axis is going to be your number of squeezes or your trial, excuse me. So 1 through 10. The y-axis, the up and down, that's going to be however many times you were able to squeeze within the 30 seconds on each one. And again, it's up to you how you set that up. Do you want to do by 5s? Do you want to do by 2s? Do you want to do by 1? Whatever makes you happy, okay? Based on what your numbers are. You can do one graph per hand, or you can combine them both onto one graph, whatever makes you happy. Okay. After you're done with the graphing, number 2 is write a paragraph explaining your graph, what was going on during that. And then, of course, 3, how does it affect over time? And you just go through and you answer all the other questions. There's plenty of room for you to write out your answers. So you'll be able to get through, obviously, all of the squeezy parts and the math, and hopefully the line graph before you leave here, and the rest you'll be able to complete at home. Now, in order to turn this in, it has to be online. So the first thing is the Dropbox. The Dropbox is where you're going to turn in this information. Okay, so when you have a Dropbox, the Blackboard will only allow me to read 4 different types of files. It allows me to use a .doc file, that's old Word. It allows me to view docx, which is new Word. It allows me to view JPEGs, and it allows me to use PDFs. Okay. Now, when you upload to the Dropbox, it will let you upload anything you want. You can put an MP4 there, you can put a ping, you can put whatever you want. But when it comes time for me to grade it, if you put a file that's not one of these 4, it'll tell me I do not have access to this file, blah, 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 blah. And if I can't access it, I can't grade you, you will get a 0. Okay? So this is one of the 4 that you have to use. So it's up to you how you do that. You can take pictures of each of those pages and load each picture as a JPEG, not a PNG or any other kind of photo file, but as a JPEG.
Why are we talking?
You can combine them into a single PDF. Again, there's a lot of programs that do that. You can get apps for your phone. I have one that's called Tiny Scanner. So it can combine several photos together to be a PDF, which is pretty handy if you're like at Barnes & Noble and you see a couple of recipes you like in a book, but you don't want to buy a $30 book for 2 recipes, so you just take pictures of it and turn it into PDFs and print them off later, for instance. Okay. So you can add all that together via PDF and drop that in the Dropbox, or you can upload the photos or the PDF or type stuff in Word and save it as a Word document. Okay. So I don't care how you get it there, it just has to be one of these 4 file formats. So if you anything other than these 4, I'm not going to be able to read it and you're going to get a 0 for it. One of the stipulations for the Common Assessment is students are only allowed to complete it once. So if you turn in the wrong file, I can't let you do it again. That violates the state of Texas things, and they'll come and tell me, it's like, hey, you broke the rules. I don't want to be taught by the man. So make sure you turn in the right one. So that's what will go into your Dropbox. Then you're going to have these outcome assessment questions, and they're going to ask you questions about muscle activity. It's going to show you some graphs. So it's going to take what information you learned in class along with what you kind of learned whenever you were doing this activity, and then applying that. So there are multiple choice questions that it's going to ask you about. So both of these assignments do count as a concept check or a homework grade. So it does go into your concept check average. That will end up being a test grade. So do take them seriously because you want to make sure you get good grades there. Now, since these are considered online assignments, they are due when all online assignments are due. So the Wednesday before the finals day. So if you don't finish them tonight or today during class, you don't have to go home, finish it tonight, and choose this over studying for your practical, because practicals are more important. So get done what you can get done in class today, like using the clothespins in case you don't have clothespins at home. I don't know, some people don't have them. But if you're not able to finish it before you leave the room, do it this weekend or something. Okay, so as long as it's due by the end of the semester. Now, the sooner you get it done, the less likely you're going to forget about it and get a 0. Okay, so it's due later. Any questions? All right. So the time is yours to complete this activity, so you use your little clothespin kickers to your heart's desire.
Do my best. Let's see.
And we magically all have stopwatches on our phones, so we don't have to think about 30 seconds.
I don't have to stop. Okay, let's see. When you start at 30 seconds. Are we supposed to do this 10 times? You want to do
No, Rick, they're so expensive.
Squint as fast as we can. Mine's not changing. No effing way. I have a question. Is it possible for your muscles to warm up and then you start getting a higher number?
Yeah, because remember, warming up helps to speed up everything.
Okay.
So sometimes some people will see increase and then a decrease.
Which one are you on 10? Oh, you're doing the opposite hand. I have some odd numbers. my God. Oh my God.
I have a question. So is the joules just one? Like after we add it, are we just multiplying it by one? Okay, I was like, why are they wording this so complicated? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you just have to convert squeezes to joules.
Okay.
So each squeeze is 1 joules, right? Okay, that's
So you
correct.
just multiply by one.
Find the total energy expanded by your hand. You will need to multiply the amount of energy. 1 joule needed. So we're literally adding all these numbers together. And why does it say?
having work doing envelopes.
So we can technically turn these into PDFs by just taking pictures and uploading.
As long as you convert it over, yeah.
10-4. Do you have a calculator? Do you have a calculator? I can use?
Bet your computer has a calculator.